Tension explodes. Pierre confronts Carney over favoring China. In Canada's political landscape, a fierce confrontation is unfolding between Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and Prime Minister Mark Carney. The Battle River, Crowfoot by-election on August 18, 2025, symbolizes a broader ideological clash between rural Canadian interests and federal policies. This local election has significant implications for Canadian agriculture and trade, particularly due to steep Chinese tariffs on canola seed. This situation highlights the tensions between protecting domestic industries and managing complex international trade relationships. The Chinese government's 75.8% anti-dumping duty on Canadian canola seed has severely impacted prairie farmers, many of whom rely on canola as a cash crop. This sudden tariff has led to shipment delays, contract cancellations, and plummeting prices, pushing some farmers toward bankruptcy. Poilievre has capitalized on this crisis, accusing Carney's government of failing to protect farmers from foreign economic aggression. He points out the irony that while Ottawa has been slow to respond to the canola crisis, it approved a $1 billion loan to BC ferries for vessels built by a Chinese state-owned company, highlighting a contradiction in prioritizing foreign infrastructure over domestic agricultural support. The optics of this situation are damaging for Carney. The Canada Infrastructure Bank's choice to finance shipbuilding in China instead of supporting Canadian industries has drawn criticism from labor unions and agricultural groups, as well as some members of Carney's party. Critics question the wisdom of this loan, especially amid escalating tariffs on Canadian agricultural exports. This raises serious concerns about Canada's commitment to its own industries and the potential long-term impacts on local economies reliant on agriculture and manufacturing. Adding fuel to the fire is the controversy surrounding Prime Minister Carney's constituency office in Nepean. As of mid-August 2025, he lacks a permanent office in his riding, raising frustrations among constituents. This absence is seen as a lack of engagement with local issues, particularly among rural voters who often feel marginalized. The Prime Minister's office claims efforts are underway to find a suitable location, but the lack of a physical presence fosters perceptions of detachment. Many rural voters feel sidelined by government, focus more on urban and international priorities than on their needs. This perception of neglect is compounded by Carney's handling of the canola crisis. Although he has acknowledged the issue and mentioned potential support for affected farmers, specific measures remain unclear. Poilievre criticizes this response as inadequate, arguing that immediate actions are needed to mitigate damage to the agricultural sector. He has called for the government to impose counter-tariffs on Chinese imports, redirect tariff revenues to support Canadian producers, and accelerate the development of alternative export markets. These proposals resonate with farmers seeking decisive action rather than vague promises. The Battle River, Crowfoot by-election has become a referendum on the federal government's approach to rural issues. Poilievre is campaigning vigorously, emphasizing his commitment to Western Canadians and holding the government accountable. His message resonates with voters who feel overlooked and eager for representation. He frames the election as a choice between a leader who advocates for rural communities and a prime minister perceived as more aligned with international elites. This narrative taps into the growing sentiment of rural disenfranchisement in Canada, where urban centers often dominate national dialogue. Carney, on the other hand, is seeking to reassure voters that his government's policies are in their best interests. He has highlighted initiatives aimed at diversifying Canada's trade relationships, reducing reliance on any single market, and investing in sustainable infrastructure projects that promise long-term benefits. The Prime Minister has also pointed to the Liberal Party's efforts to address climate change and promote clean energy as evidence of a forward-thinking agenda that balances economic growth with environmental responsibility. However, his attempts to connect with rural constituents have been met with skepticism, as many remain unconvinced that his policies will translate into tangible benefits for their communities, especially in light of the pressing issues they currently face. The outcome of the Battle River, Crowfoot by-election will have significant implications for both leaders. A strong showing by Poilievre would bolster his position as the leader of the Conservative Party, solidifying his influence and providing a platform to challenge Carney's leadership in the upcoming federal election. Conversely, a victory for Carney would affirm the Liberal Party's standing in rural Canada and strengthen the Prime Minister's mandate to pursue his policy agenda. This election is more than just a local contest. It represents a crucial battle for the soul of Canadian politics, particularly regarding how rural issues are prioritized in the national dialogue. Beyond the immediate political ramifications, this confrontation underscores a deeper divide in Canadian society, the tension between urban and rural interests, between global economic strategies and local economic realities. The debate over the canola crisis is not just about trade policy. It is about how Canada defines its identity and priorities in an increasingly interconnected world. As globalization reshapes economies, the challenge remains to find a balance that ensures the prosperity of both urban centers and rural communities, acknowledging that both are vital to the nation's economic health. As the by-election approaches, all eyes are on Battle River, Crowfoot. The voters of this riding will not only choose their representative, but will also send a message about the direction they want Canada to take. Will they endorse a vision that emphasizes global engagement and environmental sustainability, or will they opt for a path that prioritizes the protection and promotion of domestic industries and communities? The stakes are incredibly high, and the decisions made in this riding could very well resonate across the country, influencing policies and political strategies far beyond its borders. In the coming days, the political landscape in Canada will be shaped by the decisions made in Battle River, Crowfoot. The outcome of this by-election may well set the tone for the next federal election and determine the future course of the nation's policies on trade, agriculture, and rural development. As the campaign intensifies, the stakes have never been higher, and the eyes of the nation are fixed firmly on this pivotal moment in Canadian politics. This election is not merely about who will represent a single riding. It's about how Canada chooses to navigate its future in a complex and rapidly changing world, and the implications this has for all Canadians.